Open Your Eyes is brought to you by the Belize Bank. Our country, your bank.
Good morning and welcome to Open Your Eyes.
Start your morning, right?
I'm Marlene Cuellar.
And I'm April Martinez. Good morning.
And thank you for joining us.
Yes, happy to be here in your homes. Thank you.
That's right, December 30th.
The year is gone, Marlene.
It's over.
Oh!
There's not much you can get done between today and tomorrow, though, if you're very ambitious, I'm sure you can.
But it seems that everybody is aware that this is the season. Everybody is at the banks. Everybody is dealing with their last minute shopping, last minute rent, last minute bills, last minute everything. So
yeah,
it seems that everybody is aware that the year is done. In the blink of an eye, the year is done.
It's, and I think yesterday, or during this week, one of the conversations we had on the show was just thinking of how, this is a time of year where a lot of people just start having their reflections on the year that has passed. People are setting goals for the year ahead. Are you a big planner for the year ahead?
No.
Resolutions?
Resolutions I try, and I feel like resolutions are a little thing of hope. You try to, maybe you're going to exercise or maybe you're going to.
You see, starting your resolutions with maybes, probably not the best footing.
I'm a realist, not an optimist. But you try your best to be better, to be wiser, to figure out life. We're all trying to just human in this world, right?
Yeah. Well, the thing is, there are some people who really are against setting resolutions and, why bother? They never work. And I get that. But I also think it's an admirable thing when you consider that you are making a plan for the time ahead. The time is so limited. Look at 2021. Disappeared right before us. I feel like it was somewhere in between. There was a fast forward button pressed.
Yes.
And here we are preparing for another year. And if you don't kind of decide what you want to make of it and work towards it, maybe you won't get there, but that's your hope, then I think that's something admirable. And if it's goals like being healthy, spending more time with your family, things that are going to improve the quality of your life, go for it.
Agreed. And then sometimes you have to just be prepared for the things that life throws at you. Yeah. Sometimes you set a goal for yourself and it might not work out the way you want, but it might work out in another way, and then you just have to adapt. And I think that is what a resolution does. It sets you up for something, but it's how you decide how you're going to take on that goal or that issue in life that will set you apart for the rest of the year. I think 2021 has definitely taught us to be resilient, hopeful, to be a little bit more grateful for the things that we have in life. And I am hoping 2022 will give us a little bit more of that. And I say hope because you never know.
Well, I think that was my lesson this year. It is when we think ahead for 2020, and this has been such an unusual time in all of our lives. We are the generations that will remember the pandemic. I don't know if it's going to be another 100 years before we see another one, or maybe it'll become a more common occurrence.
Yeah.
But the point is that this has been a time unlike anything else we've experienced. And I think one of the lessons from 2021 that definitely I hope to take along with me is kind of just being gentle on yourself, because we're living in such unprecedented times. Yes. There's the plan, there's the resolution, there are the things that you want, need, and expect. But at the end of the day, life happens, and you've got to be kind to yourself in those moments.
I think that's something else that we brought into our culture is changing. Our Belizean culture is changing. We're more aware of mental health. We're more aware of spirituality. We're more aware of politics.
Yeah.
Everything has become more aware, brought us to be more aware of the issues that we have going on. It's no longer just about self. Because for a very long time, it's just been, if it's not affecting me personally, I don't care about it. But now it is affecting you personally and everyone you care about.
Yeah, and this is a year that, I mean, this year, with the rollout of the vaccination, that was what was unique about this pandemic year. There was a lot of talk of doing or getting vaccinated for others. And the pandemic time has really been one of those times where we've been talking about doing, taking actions not just for yourself, but for others as well. You know, whether it's protecting yourself, protecting people around you, but also getting vaccinated for yourself and for others around you. The faster we can get to a mostly vaccinated population, the better off things will be.
Yes.
I think the last vaccination rates that I saw, we are near 50, we should be at about 50% of our population fully vaccinated, which is, you know, I think the WHO had set a goal for 40% for most countries. So we've exceeded that. 50% isn't where we need to be, but it's, you know, progress.
Yeah.
Of course, Omicron, like all lessons in life, has come to tell us, yeah, make your plans, but here I am to disrupt things.
Yeah, but I think we're getting better, and you know, one of the things that I think we have to remember and keep reminding ourselves is, yes, you can wear your mask, yes, you can social distance, yes, all of these things can happen, but the vaccination is really just a preventative measure. It is not a 100% cure.
Yes.
Right? You want to prevent yourselves, and speaking of just COVID in general, our cases are...
I know.
But it was bound to happen with the holiday rush. It was bound to happen, even though we haven't counted those numbers from Christmas as yet. I don't think we have that. Yeah. But just the shopping, the first couple of weeks in December, all of that rush. And you remember, you could have your mask, you could be vaccinated, but you know, it's on the money, it's on your plastic bags, it's everywhere. So try to disinfect everything. I mean, don't go crazy with the Clorox, but you could be vaccinated, you could have your mask, you could be 6 feet apart, but you know, you touch that money, you touch your face, it's going to spread in that kind of way. So just try your best to be mindful and attentive of the things that you do, so that you can, you know, try not to catch this disease.
Well, you know, it's interesting because I see the increase in numbers, and naturally, I want to assume that it's Omicron, because we know it's so highly transmissible. Yesterday we had a doctor from United Memorial Medical Center in Houston, and he said, listen, he's like, you know, one cough and you have it if somebody coughed around you. It's that contagious. But yesterday, our news team went to the Central Medical Lab. And so they did get an opportunity to see and talk with the lab technicians there about the gene sequencing process, which is, of course, testing positive cases to see what variant it is. And they are saying that it's going to be a while. They've started the gene sequencing for Omicron. That takes a process. But what they're seeing right now is predominantly Delta. And that's the part where I'm like, okay, well, that's worrisome. And you're right. You know, the shopping started 2 weeks before Christmas. We've not seen what the impact of Christmas will be. That should be 2 weeks from now as well. So it is a very concerning time. We do want to encourage people to just remember, there are a number of businesses, I don't know what it's like in Cayo, but I know there are a couple of businesses in Belize that are closed, Belize City that are closed because of the number of staff that are either have tested positive or have come in close contact or been exposed to persons who are positive. So it's not just people getting sick, it's disruption in business.
Yes, it's disruption of life.
Yeah.
Everything has to stand still if something like this happens, and that worries me about all of the other decisions that we have to make for 2022, like opening schools, opening the border. You know, your tourism season this is high season. That is we're here, and it's, you know, going to be ongoing in 2021, and you know, I always say this 2022. See, I'm already there. I am that person that will write 2021 in her book until maybe February.
February isn't so bad. Okay.
I kept saying 2020 this year and then 2021 next year. I'm still in 2020. I haven't gotten over the whole life standing still part of 2020. But yeah, those are the decisions that we have to keep in mind, keep focused, that if we want life to get back to normal, everybody has to do their part.
Yeah. And of course, we will keep following what's happening with COVID in the country. But the other big news is looking at what's happening in the sugar industry. So I know you were here for the last conversation we had with BSCFA, and that was before they had the meeting where they were able to agree on terms that would allow for the opening of the cane season come Monday. Since then, clearly things deteriorated. They're once again at a standstill in being able to work out a solution that both parties agreed to. Even to the end of yesterday, even with the intervention of the Prime Minister, we're told that talks resumed today, but that they have removed the blocks from the road yesterday. But, you know, this is a day-by-day situation. I told the Cane Farmers Association, I didn't say it on air, but this is around this time of year, we tend to have these conversations. And, you know, I understand that the agreement that was made last week to get the season started was something that both sides agreed upon to set the interim agreement to April. Changing it a few days later, I think, makes it a really difficult position to defend.
Right. I think also they had this, I think when they were having the conversation with us, they were talking about how they could not reach this agreement. All of their proposals were dismissed. And so it makes me wonder what changed between that conversation that kind of pushed them to change the date again, just because maybe they're trying their best to come to a sort of diplomatic agreement. But it seems that the mill can operate at 50% capacity of sugarcane workers, but I don't see how it's going to benefit the rest of the country if the other 50% is not working.
And I think the big question is, you know, it's an association of members.
Yes.
And so the members also have a say in the decisions that the executive are making. So, you know, I think that that's also something to consider, that if I'm a farmer and I see things starting to roll out at the mill, will I stick with my association, or will I try to get my cane in as well?
I mean, it seems that they're in this together.
Yeah.
It seems that none of them are backing down. And, you know, I had that question for them last week when I asked about how many of them are just lone farmers and then how many of them are a family business of farmers, because then that just doesn't affect one person in the association. It could affect 6 people. So I hope they can come to an agreement. I just think that something like this is what the entire Belizean population should be worried about, because our sugar industry is one of our largest in the country. Yeah.
Well, as we said, the talks resumed today. Last week, the pre-holiday spirit seem to have lend to compromise. We're hoping the same will take place today, and we'll have that update for you in our newscast tonight. And lastly, of course, we saw the send-off of the late Myrna Manzanares with a bram in Gales Point.
I think she would have not had it any other way.
That is so true.
I would imagine that her spirit was right there jamming and bramming with everybody.
She probably made it tell them to fling their hips more, if you know, Miss Myrna.
That's true. Yeah. That's true. Kind of beat that drum a little bit better, you know, because she got rhythm. But yes, it was a lovely send-off by her villagers at Gales Point, Manatee. So I liked seeing that. It was lovely. It was colorful and festive. And, you know, oftentimes funerals seem to be this moment of grief, but I think she preferred her celebration of her life.
Yeah. All right, but we got to get moving into our show for today.
Okay.
And before we get our conversation started, we're going to give you some motivation, and that means it's time for Eye Opener. And our Eye Opener, taken from dailyarm.com, goes like this. When we take the time to recognize that we are happy and what that feels like, it becomes easier to recreate. Those of us on the path of personal and spiritual growth have a tendency to analyze our unhappiness in order to find the causes and make improvements. But it is just as important, if not more so, to analyze our happiness. Since we have the ability to rise above and observe our emotions, we can recognize that we are feeling joyful and content. Once we know what it feels like and can identify some of the triggers and are aware of our actions, we can recreate that happiness when we are feeling low. Knowing that like attracts like, we can pull ourselves out of a blue mood by focusing on joy. We might find that forcing ourselves to be giving and forgiving, even when it doesn't seem to come naturally, helps us to reconnect with the joy that actually precedes it. If we can identify a song, a picture, or a pet as a happiness trigger, we can use them as tools to recapture joy if we're having trouble finding it. By focusing our energy on analyzing happiness and all that it encompasses, we feed, nurture, and attract more of it into our lives, eventually making a habit of happiness.
I like that.
Yeah.
What is happiness to you, Marlene?
Tough question to answer at this time. But I think it's, what I love about the eye opener when it says about how it closes off with habit of happiness.
Yes.
That's not something we think about. There's that movie called The Pursuit of Happiness, and I
yes.
always love the title because I think that it's one of those things we fool ourselves into believing that you could have this full, happy life all the time.
It comes back to what you think happiness is, though.
Yeah.
Because some people would imagine that having things would make them happy. And, to a certain extent, having the ability to afford certain things, sure, it makes you live in an economic world where you can, be stable. But is that really happiness? How do you find yourself being truly aloof and completely zen in yourselves when it comes to happiness? Like singing a song, drawing, painting, cooking, taking a walk, just observing and looking at life around you and the nature around you. My best thing about coming to this show is the drive. And I know that sounds really weird, but I am alone in my car and I could sing out loud and nobody can judge me. And then I see the sunrise as I'm coming.
Yeah.
And that is just bliss.
Who doesn't love being the superstar of the moment in their car when they're driving? I think it's the best time. But yeah, I think that we there's joy in the little things.
Yes.
And we often neglect to appreciate them. And, we live our lives looking at the big moments that come by. And I think they're worthwhile to celebrate. The really great times, and oftentimes you have to take a pause for the really tough times. But in between, there's so many little things that can contribute to your happiness. And I think that that goes back to the idea of just having a level of gratitude.
Yes.
When you do start to see that, it's not all bad all day. And that there are little things that you are blessed with that you have to be able to take into account and appreciate.
You have to hold on to those little things, especially in these times.
Yeah.
But yes, I really like that.
We had our conversation with a therapist who said that a part of making resolutions is taking stock. And so I think today's eye opener is a real push for people to kind of see, what are the things that are moving you towards happier moments.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, but we got to get more information about our weather. We got Francisca on the line. Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. It's a female force work this morning.
That's right. We like that. How are you?
I'm doing great. And you? How was your Christmas?
It was lots of food.
Still have leftovers.
Okay, that sounds good.
Did you get any delivery for rompopo and cake? I know you said you had to work for Christmas.
Yes, thank you. All the work.
Oh.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right.
Wonderful.
I'm happy to hear that. But Francisca, tell us, the weather has been beautiful the past few days. Is it going to continue that way into the new year?
Yeah. Yes, it will. Yes and no. For the next 24 hours, we will continue to see general fair weather. Little to no rainfall today, and we'll see light isolated showers tonight, especially along the coast.
And the winds?
Winds east to southeast 10 to 20 knots, and choppy 3 to 5 foot waves beyond the reef.
All right, what about the temperatures?
Okay, mild, I would say 86 along the coast, 90 inland, 78 up in the Maya Mountains. And then tonight, 80 along the coast, 73 inland, 64 up in the Maya Mountains.
And the extended forecast, what's that going to look like?
Okay, so that's for Friday and Friday night. We'll be seeing only isolated showers around the country.
Clear skies so people can see fireworks?
Yes.
Okay.
Wow.
Well, we like the sound of that. And the weekend, just peeping ahead for a moment, what's that looking like?
Okay, so Sunday night, Sunday into Monday, a cold front will be approaching us. So that's when we'll see some changes, especially Monday.
That sounds like rain.
A little bit, yes.
I hear you holding back that bad news from us. All right. But we'll take the clear skies for New Year's Eve.
I don't want to spoil the fun of the New Year.
All right. Well, thank you so much. And of course, are you going to be working this weekend again?
They're working, I believe, on New Year's Day, New Year's afternoon.
Oh, all right. Well, at least you get to bring in your New Year with your family.
Thank you.
All right. Have a great day.
Thanks, and same to you guys.
Okay. Bye.
Okay, bye-bye.
It's not too bad.
No.
I think that it is getting a little bit warm. I felt it outside this morning, but that's not too bad. And then a little bit of a cold front at the very, very beginning of the new year.
Yeah.
Good signs. Showers of blessings, right?
That's right.
Okay.
Okay, but we got to get moving into our show for today. And we are starting off with a really important conversation. I think one of the things that we have seen over the past year is very tragic road crashes that have taken place. And today we're going to put it all into perspective. We have the Department of Transport coming in, and they're going to talk a bit about the crashes that they did see over the year and some of the preventative tips in moving forward.
I think that Belize, we do have that, especially around this highway and around the southern highway. So that's going to be a very, very good conversation. I have some questions. And then after that, we're going to be talking to this new free tutoring program that was created for students in Dangriga by Ms. Tina Johnson. It's going to be a good one. I'm curious to see how she put this during a pandemic.
Yeah.
That would be a good one.
Yeah. So, and then we're going to close off with a brand new cycling team. And this particular team, while they are cycling enthusiasts and working on improving themselves in the sport, they also have a mission to help with communities. And so they have a community project that they just completed. And we're going to get the details about that. So we're going to hear from 501 Valvoline.
Awesome. It's going to be a good show today.
That's what we have in store. We're going to go ahead and take a break. But before we do, we got a birthday shout out. And we're saying happy birthday to Giovanni Budna.
Happy birthday, Jov. Hey, I know he hit from our pan. Happy birthday, Jov.
All right, do have a great day. That comes from all of us here at Channel 5 and Open Your Eyes. We'll take that break, and when we come back, we'll be talking about the crashes that we see on the highways, things that we can do to keep ourselves safer. That's coming up in a few.
It's almost lunchtime and Alice is getting hungry and forgot to bring cash. She remembers that eCash now has a geolocation feature in which she can easily view the eCash merchants near her, especially restaurants. Her co-workers also ask her to order food for them.
Chicken chow mein, please, and a Coke.
The merchant sends her the payment link. She taps confirm, and within a few minutes, her food is delivered. Alice then views her transaction history and taps on the transaction recently made. Then taps the split the bill button where she selects the unevenly option and moves the bar to the desired amount per person. The request is then sent to her friends. Her colleagues accept the request and are ready to enjoy their meals. Geolocation and splitting the bill via eCash make Alice's life a whole lot easier.
We have been a partner with Smart for over 10 plus years. We have a full Smart plan we use as our major driver for our business. We have a service that rolls over in that if you call one and it is busy, it rolls over to the next line. So once you call us, you can get us at any time. Before we got this smart service, we were paying upwards of nearly $2,000 in phone bills. Since we've had our smart service, we pay an average of about $600. So we've had tremendous saving, more than 50%. For the businesses, if you want to save money, switch to smart because it is far more cost effective and the service is excellent.
Smart continues to be innovative in bringing new technology and meaningful savings during these challenging times to businesses across Belize. Sign up for our VoIP technology or broadband packages and save more.
Vaccines protect you and they protect me. Getting vaccinated is one of the most important things you can do to keep yourself and your family safe and healthy. Once enough people are immunized, opportunities for an outbreak of disease becomes very low. And if we all choose to get vaccinated, we contribute in getting back to spending quality time with our loved ones in a safe way.
Morning, B.
Ready for full laid box?
Yes, man. Just grab the rope and I will put on the camera. My name is Josh Marin. I'm a commercial fisherman out of San Pedro and I've been fishing my whole life. We've been noticing that each and every time we go out, we'll have to find further grounds. So when I heard about the program, I found it as a very good business opportunity. Other fishermen, when they go out, they tend to bring in everything and anything, and that's what me and my crew don't do. We practice responsible fishing.
Just show me how the app work, G.
Easy thing, bro. All we gotta do is we're gonna put in how much fish we catch right there. Today we get 15 pounds of champagne and 30 pounds of queens. We have punched that in and that's all. Oh, one more thing.
Great Belize Productions Channel 5, proud winner of 5 Caribbean Media Awards for 2019 and 2020. Best Television News Item, Best Responsible Coverage of Children's Issues, Best Health Education Journalism, Best Television Commercial Spot, and the People's Choice Award, with special mention by the jury in the Best Television News Item category.
2021 was filled with highs and lows. A second year of pandemic life with vaccinations and variants. More tragic deaths due to crime, multiple protests, political drama, environmental milestones, and Belizeans excelling. Before we ring in 2022, we'll take you back to some of the biggest stories of the past 12 months. Join our news team on New Year's Eve for News 5's Year in Review. From headline stories, historical moments, and even the most buzzed about topics on our social media, we'll give you a complete rundown as the year comes to a close. Make News 5's 2021 in Review a part of your New Year's celebration. Tune in on December 31st at 8 p.m. right here on Channel 5 and streaming live on Facebook and YouTube.
And we're back. We're moving into our first conversation for this morning. Very important one. As we take a look at the impacts that we saw on our roadways. We, from time to time in the newscast, have to report very tragic news of fatalities that have taken place. And so we're going to put it all into perspective as the year comes to a close. And we have two representatives from the Department of Transport. We have David Castillo, who is with us, the Assistant Operations Officer, and we have Peter Williams, who is the Operations Officer, both from the Transport Department. Good morning and welcome.
Good morning. Thank you.
So we were getting the conversation started during the break, and I think it's important we take stock and see just how bad it was in terms of road traffic collisions that we've seen. So let's start off with that data.
Yeah, so far the data is indicating that we've had approximately 58 traffic collisions for this year so far. Mm-hmm. Of course, the year isn't completed as yet, and so by early next month we should have the full statistics on all the collisions that have taken place for this year. But so far we're up to 58, 47 of which are males and 12 of which are females fatalities. Yeah.
So it's 58 fatalities that we've
Yes,
seen?
58,
okay.
yeah.
Do you have the numbers in terms of number of crashes that took place in general?
Yes, there has been about 60 crashes, and so if you look at that ratio, majority of them have been fatal,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And so that is something that we really need to highlight as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Now, can I start with that though? Because there's a move I remember hearing about where we need to stop calling it traffic accident.
Yes.
Because very rare is the occasion where it is an accidental incident.
Correct.
It is a crash, often
Collision.
caused by collision, caused by human action.
Correct.
Let's explain that a bit further and how that is a part of the mental shift we need to make.
Yeah, so that was a decision made by the United Nations. From a global perspective, we all know that road traffic collisions have a tremendous impact on the lives of people, and there's a financial cost as well. Over $500 billion is spent annually on road traffic collisions, billion with a B. And so at the UN, they decided, of course, after looking at the data, looking at the information, that, as you rightfully mentioned, these are not, involuntary, so to speak. These are human errors. And so it was more fitting then to say incidents or collisions, right, and not accidents. Of course, you have some instances whereby you can consider it an accident because it was, an act of God or whatever the case may be. You're driving and, a bee gets in the vehicle and, you lose control because you're trying to avoid that bee accident to some extent, right? But yeah, that's basically where it came from.
Yeah. So we're looking at 58 fatalities for this year alone. And what, I think viewers should know is that typically, when we're not in a pandemic, when we look at causes of deaths, the incidents on the road, it takes a bit to shift the mind, are actually one of the leading causes of deaths in the country. Now, what type of investigation goes into understanding the reasons why these collisions take place? I very rarely hear reports on alcohol, speeding, and seatbelts. Yeah.
So the truth of the matter is that there is a perception that if there is an accident, the person is under the influence. That is, that perception there. But that is not always the case. There are many contributing factors, right? You have the infrastructure, you have the vehicle itself, you have the driver, etc. Now, when it comes to the investigation element, our motor vehicle inspectors from the Department of Transport would usually visit the scene of an accident, and they are trained as motor vehicle inspectors to be able to go and do an assessment of the vehicle and determine the cause, right? However, because these matters often goes to the Supreme Court, you don't hear about it. But almost every day, our motor vehicle inspectors are called upon by the police department, who currently are primarily dealing with road traffic collisions, right? The department is still building its capacity to be able to properly take that on. So currently the police department, they're doing that, but they still rely on the expertise of our motor vehicle inspectors to be able to give that assessment.
So you don't participate in as a prosecutor, you simply go as a witness, an expert testimony?
Correct, currently, yes.
I'm sure, we've all seen the case in the United States where a truck driver is facing up to 110 years for what was a failure with his truck. It really, I think that the conversation around it is interesting because here we see somebody facing a very severe consequence for loss of life. And it's telling as to where we're moving in understanding the responsibility we have when we get behind the wheel. What are some of the efforts that are being planned or rolled out to get us in a place where we start to realize as drivers in this country that when we get behind the wheel, we're armed with a weapon?
So there are several things along this.
You sigh like it's a lot of work.
Really and truly, we're doing a lot, and Mr. Casio can attest to this. But let me start with the driving manual. So through SIF and the Road Safety Project, the government of Belize has prepared a driving manual, right? And we are going to have this be a standard issuance whenever you go to get your driving license. We are also in the process of revamping, we've already revamped it, the written test. We have a bank of almost 300 questions with all the information that you will need. So when you go to sit the test, you will get random questions. Because what we've observed in the past,
you just memorize it.
You just memorize it, right? Basically. And so what we want to then do is to say you go, you sit behind a computer and it's going to randomly select the question. So you have to know all that information because we find that it starts at the preparation. It starts before you get behind the wheel. Also, in the past, you could go and you could just apply for your learner's permit and you go on the road. We've changed that with the Department of Transport. You need to do the written test first, then you go out on the road. Because you need to know that information. You need to know what side of the road you should be driving on, what's the speed limit, all the basic information. So after you have done that, you have proven yourself that you have the knowledge, then you can transition and go out on the road.
How does the practical driving test look like? And how do students prepare for that? Because, when I was learning to drive, I guess when we were learning to drive, somebody in our family taught us how to drive. And if you are implementing laws and a new test, maybe your grandpa, your daddy, your mom might not know those new rules and those new regulations. So how do they prepare for a practical test?
Okay, so currently the laws that we're amending doesn't affect the rules of the road. Those stand. Secondly, for us at DOT, we try to ensure that you have the information before you go out on the road. That is the first thing. After you have the information, then the inspector is going to take you out on the road and they will guide you, right? In addition to that, the law states that when you're learning to drive, you should be on feeder roads. Feeder roads meaning the off streets. You should not be on a public highway or a major road when you're learning to drive. And that is something that we often see people driving and they should not be, right? So that is a contravention to their permit because you don't want to have a novice driver driving on the road with more experienced, more aggressive drivers, so to speak, because then that's a recipe for disaster. So that is one of the things that we want to try to highlight as well, that when you get your learner's permit, you should not be on the highway or the major roads. Now, we have discussed on several occasions some of the issues with your learner's permit, because, for example, you go and you get your learner's permit and you pass. You drive during the day, the sun is out shining, you pass, and that's it. What about at night? What about when it's raining? What about during the fog? But these are the discussions that we're having now. We haven't find the full solution as yet, but we're trying to see how we can get to that place where we can better equip our drivers.
Yeah.
We have also looked at having a test be done, like let's say every year when you go in to renew your driving license, you do another test or something like that, right? So there are several things on the table that we have discussed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, most certainly it's important that we go through that process, especially with the educational part of it, the educational aspect, because when you reflect or you go to the statistics on fatalities or RTAs, the highest margin will be the youth gap between the ages of 18 to 35. So and whereby it is showing or reflecting that those that are beyond 35, they already have the experience on the road. So we need to certainly concentrate a lot when it comes to the preparation process of having these young people on the road, you know.
How are you monitoring that? How are you monitoring all of your new regulations that you're trying to implement? And the reason I ask that is because, for example, this highway from Belmopan to Belize City is dark. And you already discussed how do you drive through a fog, how do you drive through rain, and then when do you put on your high beam, when do you take it off? Just this morning it was very, very foggy and very trafficy without any kind of lights on the highway. That is an accident waiting to happen, because whether I am driving or the person that is driving on the opposite side can come to a collision just by forgetting to take off their high beam.
So one of the things that we have been doing, and we have amped the enforcement. Since the past few months, we have amped the presence of the traffic wardens on the highways, in particular the main highways. And we also, in extension, jointly with the police officers, the police department, as we all know, in the month of November, there was an increase, a sudden increase, a drastic increase in RTAs. So we saw the importance of interagency enforcement with the police department. So from November up to the ending of December, we have sustained enforcement operations countrywide. And it's important to have the presence of the police officers to prevent these accidents, you know, and having our operators abiding by the rule of the road.
Just in addition to what Mr. Castillo mentioned, I must acknowledge the efforts being made by the Ministry of Infrastructure.
Yeah.
Because they have taken action by clearing the shoulders of the roads. And I know that they have a few things in their pipeline that they want to be able to introduce to make the roads more visible, because really and truly, they are responsible for the maintenance and upkeep of the road, and we are responsible for enforcement on the road, right?
Yeah.
And so when you look at the rehabilitation of the highway, the road markings, the reflectors and so on, that is where the Ministry of Infrastructure comes in. Right? And so I know that they're working on a few things with that as well.
Now, I mean, it's interesting when you say markings, because I just feel that I can't remember in our driving test if we're taught what the yellow lines mean, because every time I drive on the road, I see people overtaking on solid lines, and so, you know, that's rule number one.
Yeah. That's an excellent point. The old driving test, which is really old, doesn't have that in there, right?
Well, that's why people don't know.
But through the campaigns of the Road Safety Project, we have tried our best to try to get that information out there. Now with the new test, it's going to have that in there. And what we've tried to do is that with the new test, we want to have images and so on in there so that people can know what these things look like, right? What is traveling distance? What does that look like when you're, you know, what are the different international traffic signs? What do they look like? What do they mean? People are visual, right? And so we want to be able to tap into that as well.
So for people who don't know, when you see a solid line on your side of the road, it means you shouldn't overtake.
And you know, the funny thing is we have taken people to court for failure to obey to a traffic sign, for not obeying the road markings. And people say, but that is just a road marking. So I want the public to know that those yellow lines are considered by law a sign, a traffic sign. And so if the solid line is on your side, you're not to overtake, basically. And when you see the broken line, then you can overtake. And You will find those solid lines primarily through villages or when approaching a curve or a hill,
Yes.
because they're there for your safety. It's like a warning to indicate to the driver a hill is approaching, a curve is approaching.
You won't have visibility.
Correct.
Yeah.
Right, but we always see people still overtaking in these areas. And again, you can attribute it to the lack of information, but you can also, as Ms. Akasio said, attribute it to the lack of enforcement to some degree in the past. And hence the reason why we're ramping up the enforcement element.
Well, you're jumping on my next issue, which is monitoring the highways. You know, unfortunately, it's almost like a marker for people to brag how quickly they get to a destination, which means they speed.
Yeah.
And you know, anybody who's been on the highway, we've all seen people driving and we have that moment of, wow, look how fast they're going. And you secretly say, I hope they get there safely.
Yeah.
And the issue is that no one is there to stop them. No one is there to monitor them. There aren't any speedometers along the way, so sometimes you don't even know you're going above speed limit. How do we enforce?
So, several points with that. One, I think that has to do with television. You know, we're heavily influenced by foreign countries and, you know, the movies and all the shows. And so speeding is glorified. And you have even young kids glorifying speeding and so on, right? I have had instances where I'm with my nephew or my niece or something, and they're like, go faster, uncle, right? Because then that is what they're seeing, that is what they're being exposed to. And so I have to then try to educate them, right? And let them know you need to put in a seatbelt, speeding is not good, etc. So that's the first issue.
Yeah.
The second issue is
monitoring.
As you said, with the monitoring, right? Enforcement. We do our best, right? And we're trying to reach out to other enforcement agencies to be able to assist us. We have been reaching out to Department of Environment, Forestry Department, and so on, because the issue of resources can sometimes be an issue.
Yeah.
So, for example, if Forestry Department has a vehicle available and one of our vehicles is being serviced, we can take two of our officers, jump in their vehicle and go and do a checkpoint.
How many highway patrol vehicles do we have?
We have, right now we have 28.
28.
For the entire country?
Yeah, for DOT.
That is not enough.
Yeah.
And how many are usually running or working at one time?
We have, I would say at least 14 are dedicated to enforcement.
Just wanted to provide a contributing factor to what you mentioned, speeding, you know. Oftentimes we don't plan our trips. You know, for example, coming to this talk show, if from Belompan to here, let's say we basically 45 minutes to come here. Most naturally we'll be speeding. So oftentimes people do not plan their trips, and hence the reason they have to be speeding or excessive speeding on the roads. And that's a major contributing factor to these RTAs, you know?
Yeah.
In addition to that, we at the department, we try our very best to strike a balance when it comes to the vehicle checkpoints and the patrols, because we often, between myself and Ms. Acacia, or the Chief Transport Officer, Ms. Vasquez, we often get calls almost every morning about our officers harassing people on the road, when in fact they're doing
But do
their
you
job.
stop people?
Yes.
Do you stop people if you see them passing? Because I've maybe passed up highway patrol once or twice.
Yeah. But they do. But we often get complaints about the checkpoints and the long lines and so on. But the checkpoints are there for a reason, right? Of course, we do the routine checks, but also it's to we try to use that as an opportunity to educate drivers, but also to slow them down a bit. And as Ms. Akasio said, people don't plan trips sometimes, right? Or they need to get from point A to point B in a hurry. And so they're speeding. And what we've noticed in the past that we might have a checkpoint, let's say for example at Democracia. Somebody's coming and they're rushing to get to Kaya, for example. After they get stopped for 5-10 minutes at that checkpoint, they speed off again, right? We have had instances where we stop people at checkpoints, we tell them to put on their seatbelt, and a few miles down the road, there's a collision. Yeah. And when we respond, it's one of the same vehicles that we asked to put on the seatbelt. So It's very
But
difficult.
seatbelt laws are mandatory.
Yes.
That's also a culture change, and it's important for everybody in the car. I once saw a demonstration that shows what happens when the person in the back isn't wearing a seatbelt.
Correct.
That's pretty much that body impact with pressure
Correct.
on you
Correct.
if you crash.
One of the realities is that whenever you have a head-on collision, the same speed that you're going, your body, if you don't have a seatbelt, your body
is
throw
ejected
off
at that
ejected
speed.
state.
At that speed.
Yes.
Correct.
And if it's somebody behind you, even if you're wearing a seatbelt, that comes at you
Correct.
from behind.
Yes, they become like a missile, really.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's very difficult to monitor, right? To answer the question concisely. However, we need to be able to be more creative and innovative with the approach that we take. Yeah. And we have found that joining with other enforcement agencies does help. We have observed that increasing our patrols has helped. I think maybe one of the things that has acted to our detriment is that we don't necessarily publicize a lot of our court matters, right? Every so often we put it out there through a press release or something, but we do take people to court. We recently got our new prosecutor, Ms. Natasha, very excellent, very professional, and so we are in the process of compiling new case files for the new year and so on. And so, because I will admit, during the peak of the pandemic, the department was not taking much people to court and so on, but, justifiably so, due to the pandemic. But now we're gearing up again to start to take some of these persons to court for these offenses.
But let me go back to the seatbelt part. Is that inspected as a part of the vehicle inspection, that all seatbelts are working?
It is.
Or it should be?
It should be.
Okay.
It should be.
Yeah.
Right? I know, at least I can speak for myself, when I was at that level, I would always ensure that the seatbelts are properly working. Of course, you may have instances where one or two might slip, but we do try to encourage persons to check their vehicles, because ultimately, what I always tell people, right, if you're stopped on the road and your seatbelt is not working, that is not an excuse, right? You will still be charged for that. That will actually work against you in a court of law, because as the owner of the vehicle or as a driver, it is your responsibility to check the vehicle and ensure that everything is in proper working condition before you move that vehicle. So if you go before a court and you say, well, Your Honor, the seatbelt wasn't working, but what steps did you take to try to ensure that it was working?
Yeah.
Right? And so I always try to implore that to people, to let them understand it is your responsibility to check and ensure that it's working.
How do we move from that mentality of this stability is not happen to me because people often just don't want to wear a seatbelt.
Yeah.
The vehicles that make the sound, that annoying noise when you don't wear a seatbelt. I have seen people take it, put it behind them, click it, just so that the noise stops.
So I would say that enforcement has a tremendous part to play with all this.
Yeah.
Of course, education, but we have been educating for quite some time now, right? And so this is why we're saying we need to ramp up enforcement. And I think that's the long and short of it. Enforcement, a lot of people are getting away with it, and so they feel that they will continue to get away with it. We are looking at starting to recommend for certain people to have their driving license be disqualified, because the Department of Transport can disqualify a person's driving license on certain grounds. We can suspend or revoke the license sticker on a vehicle, and people don't know this. People feel like, okay, I paid for my license sticker, it's mine. That is the property of the government of Belize. And so it can be taken back. Your license plate, your license sticker, not because you paid for it and you have it means that it's yours, right? So if your vehicle is found to be improper on the road, the department can say, look, bring that vehicle in, take off the license plate, take off the sticker, take the vehicle to a mechanic and get it fixed. Until you remedy that issue, the vehicle will not be used on the road.
Let's come back to another one that I know is highly unpopular. Child safety seats.
Oh,
yeah.
One, children shouldn't be in the front.
Correct.
And they should be strapped in at the back. Now, I know what people are going to say. If I have any idea what a child safety seat costs, yes, it's expensive. So that's a collaboration issue, because there are things like import duties and whatnot. If we make it easier for people to access safety seats, they may be more inclined to get them.
So in the past, a few years ago, we did look at that, and there are some international organizations that are willing to help with this. And so we're still exploring those options. You have some instances where you might, because from what I recall, you have different grades of child safety seats, right?
Yes.
And so we might not be able to afford the highest grade in Belize per se, but just to have it would be a good start, right?
Yeah.
We could maybe get one at the second tier or something, but we are looking at it, and hopefully we can get it passed into law. But the cost factor is the biggest impediment to having that be legislated right
And
now.
education, if people understand the risks being associated.
You know, I've seen people have their children on their laps driving. I have seen, and both in motor vehicles.
Or sitting in the little console in between.
Yes.
And that's both in motor vehicles and on motorcycles. And it's very dangerous, and people don't understand the risk that they're taking.
Yeah, that was going to be.
Yeah, basically, I wanted to pin that point there, because really and truly, we can do all the enforcement.
Yeah.
We can have all the VCPs. We can have all the checkpoints. But we cannot monitor these vehicles 24/7, whereby the educational aspect is very important, because it's not wearing a seatbelt is not only an offense, but it's also a safety measure. Just to share, you know, on Tuesday, coming back from the holidays from Corozal, heading to Belmopan, I experienced an accident, a vehicle turning over, you know, and I rendered assistance. The person came out the vehicle, and the first thing, he thanked God for that he had a seatbelt. He thanked God that I had my seatbelt on. So having a seatbelt is a safety measure, and this is very important.
Yeah.
Just to shed a little bit more light, in all the national enforcement operations we had, we emphasize on the seatbelt. Not only telling the person it's an offense, but it's also a safety measure for your own
But
safety.
sometimes numbers help. Of the 58 fatalities that you've seen, how many of them were wearing seatbelts? Just this year, we're using those numbers.
I can't recall the data on that currently, on the amount, but usually it's very low.
Yeah.
Usually it's very low, little to none. You know.
Yeah.
I wanted
So survive. You have better chances of surviving if you have the seatbelt on.
And primarily when the seatbelts are being worn, it's majority worn by the females. The men tend to take
drivers.
you know, greater risk, right?
Yeah.
Especially as Ms. Acasio said, when you look at the youth, right? The younger men, it's even worse, right?
I wanted to touch on motorbikes because you said
Yes.
it, right? And I wanted to, I guess you guys to address our viewers about the types of license that they are, that you can have, you know, in terms of a private vehicle, scooter, bus, right? And then how do you monitor motorbikes on the road? So often you see 3 people on a small scooter, 1 person wearing a helmet.
Yes.
You know, what are the offenses for that? What are the charges?
What's worse,
for
sometimes you
that?
see only the driver wearing the helmet
Yes,
and the child is
on the
there
lap.
without any.
Yeah.
Yes.
So like the seatbelt, the helmets are mandatory, right? And it is an offense to not wear your helmet. And we have had some convictions with that before the court as well. We have had some people challenge whether or not the passenger on the motorcycle should wear the helmet due to the way how the law is worded. But for the most part, we have had successful convictions with that, because the law says the driver and the rider, right? So it's just natural that you would interpret the rider as the person in the back, right? So that is something that we do enforce in respect to the different class. You have government. You have the class for motorcycle. You have the class for private vehicles, for goods vehicles, for public service vehicle, which includes taxi and buses, larger buses. You have the class for the different trucks, right? The larger trucks based on 6-wheel, 4-wheel, 8-wheel, etc. But that is something that we have submitted to Cabinet, and it has been approved for us to make amendments to the class. We want to be able to introduce a new class for golf carts, for example, because we have instances whereby on the islands or in the tourist areas, people operating golf carts are obtaining their driving license through a golf cart, and then they come on mainland.
And then drive a car.
And then they want to drive a car. And then that's another
Very
contributing factor.
Yeah.
Right? Because not because you can handle and maneuver a golf cart, it means that you can come and handle a truck or a SUV or something on the mainland. And so that is something that we're looking at as well. So we want to introduce some more classes. An ATV
and even
class
the training
and so
for golf carts, it's different now. When they were battery operated, it didn't have that level of power. We saw a fatality, I don't know if it was this year or last year, from a golf cart crash.
Correct.
You know, I think that we see these things change, and it's good to know that we're trying to adapt or regulations for it. But we're running out of time so quickly. And the two perpetual violators that we have to talk about. Yes, I'm judging, but motorcycles and buses.
Yes. Yeah.
Now let's first differentiate. Your responsibility is the main highway, so we can't get into dollar taxi and how they run in the city, because that's municipalities.
Well, truthfully, the Department of Transport is that overarching body for land transportation in Belize, right? We're the regulating body and so on. But of course, the municipalities, they do have that oversight over their municipalities, right? And that's something somewhat still being sorted out a bit.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, when it comes to the buses and or public service vehicles, right, including buses and taxis, we are in the process of working with BTB to provide like a gold standard training of sorts for them. Going back to what I mentioned with the defensive driving course, that is going to be mandatory. When it comes to taxi drivers, for you to be able to get your taxi license and so on, we are going to implement new conditions. So for example, for you to become a taxi driver, you will need to apply or submit a police record. You will need to justify in writing why you want this taxi license, why you want to become a taxi driver. You will need to undergo customer service training and so on. We want to ensure that the taxi service is revamped and improved upon, right? And so it's not going to be as easy as it once was to become a taxi driver.
So the licenses are given through Department of Transport?
Both the Department of Transport and the municipality.
Both can give or both have to approve?
Both can give.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how do you ensure that there's the same standard? Because we've seen buses, and I don't know if it's the one that's transporting the tourists, it's the one that we would have to take.
Yes.
That really stop anywhere. Don't pull off the road.
Yeah.
They put other people's we documented the racing that takes place on the Philip Golson.
Yeah, there are several things that we're doing with that. We have developed, or we're developing, tweaking a database with all drivers and conductors for the buses, right? We already have that database, we're just tweaking it. That's the first thing, because we're saying, or we have observed that if Mr. Castillo is driving for Westline and he commits X amount of infraction and Westline fires him, he goes and drives for BBOC. Or he goes and, so we're just recycling the same drivers. So he takes the same
bad habits.
Correct.
Just to add in regards to the bus operators, we provide them with an RSP, a road service permit. And the road service permit has 17 conditions, whereby they must have a fire extinguisher of 20 pounds in there. The tires should be in good condition. They should have a medical kit. What is important in that list is if the driver is medically fit, he or she needs to go to a medical examiner to get a test, whether he's a hypertensive or high blood pressure or whatever. So that person has to be medically fit. Ending of the day is to provide safety to our passengers.
And I keep hearing about a new course, new rules, new regulations. When are you hoping that these will be implemented?
So we are anticipating, at least with the defensive driving course, early next year. Hopefully by February, we could at least have our officers be trained, and they will be trained as trained facilitators, right? And then after that, we want to be able to train the wider public service, because we often get complaints about government vehicles and so on. And so we want
I think there was a study done by the Road Safety Project maybe about 3-4 years ago where they tracked who were the greatest offenders of speeding limits, and it was government issued vehicles.
Correct. And so this is why we want to be able to take a proactive approach now and to say it's going to be mandatory that all operators of government vehicle be certified as a defensive driver. And so we have met with
explain to us, what do you mean by defensive driving? How is this different from the driving lesson we get before we get our license?
Okay, so defensive driving is basically being more cautious on the road. You have to be, there's several things that you learn. You learn about the traveling distance, your stopping time. You learn, there's a scientific element, so to speak, behind it, right?
Yes.
The impacts, how should I say this, like the relation between the tires and the road, you know, when it's rain, like there's a more scientific element to it, so to speak. It teaches you to be more vigilant on the road, right? Because as you rightfully mentioned in our discussion, that when you're driving, you're not driving just for yourself, you're driving for other road users and so on, pedestrians, etc. And so the defensive driving course basically heightens your ability to be more aware of what's going on around you, basically, and it gives you that scientific element so that when you're driving on the road, if it's raining, you know that it's likely that you're going to hydroplane because the road is wet. You understand the importance of the treading on the tire. You understand, you know, like we mentioned with the seat belt and
even the
being
vehicle
projected
distance.
out, traveling distance. All of these things, you learn the science. I think that's the best way I can put it. You learn the science behind some of these
How
things.
the car functions. It's
Correct.
even the overtaking. They're the people who keep the space, and there's some who believe they have to be right behind the car before they overtake.
Correct. We even look at issues like road rage and those things. You know, how do you control your road rage and so on. And so, yeah. So there's a lot that goes into the defensive driving course.
How long will the defensive driving course be?
So we're still working out some of the details of that. Again, after we have trained our officers, then we'll be able to fit it out. But more than likely, it might be at minimum maybe like 2 days or something like that you would need, because it's quite a few information. But yeah, more or less.
Okay. I do have one more question. There are specific areas in the country. I think you noted that when we talk about road marking, solid lines would be in a village. To be fair, you know, when you're passing through some of the villages, the community members don't make it easy to be able to traverse the road either. You have people who are who are riding bicycles or walking on the road. They don't have a light. They don't have on, they have on dark clothing, and visibility is low because you don't have the lights there. Is there any kind of relationship with these communities along roadsides to get some sensitization there as well? Because there are particular hotspots that we hear of hit and runs more often than others.
So going back to the data, we do analyze the data, but I think an area that we fall short in, and you alluded to it, that we don't have that relation with the village council, the chairman and other persons of those councils. And so perhaps that is something that we need to work on, so that we can get their support, right? Because they're the leaders of those communities. We can say, though, that we have started it. For example, we have met with some of the communities behind Orange Rock in Blue Creek and those areas in Spanish Lookout. We have started to meet with these leaders and to see how we can provide that training, that assistance, that guidance for them to be able to relay that information to members of their communities. Right, so
yeah, because that's a tough one. You can be as careful as possible, but when somebody's dressed in full black, walking on the highway or riding a bike with no light, you know, it can be a very scary situation.
You know, also, if you recall, under the first road safety project, road safety became a part of the school curriculum. And so it was during that time that, and I do believe that it's still going on, I can't say with certainty, that we would go to the different schools, talk to the children of these same village communities, so that we can start to instill that information in them one time from they're young. Majority of the time you would have the older persons walking with dark clothing and so on, but if we can get to the youth and to start to instill that in them, hopefully as they get older we won't have those issues.
And we briefly touched on motorcycle. I know this year there was a notice issued about how loud they are. You know, I think you could partner with Department of Environment on this one. I call that noise pollution.
I mean,
it's
they do
very
it on purpose
disruptive.
sometimes.
So again, I'm happy to say that we are working with the Department of Environment. We're working with Department of Forestry, several different departments, and we were privileged enough to have the Department of Environment assist us with providing training for our staff. I think it was in November. So they came in and they gave training on the decibel meter, which is used to measure sound.
Yes.
There is some discrepancies with the device in the sense that there's an argument that the device was created for a certain type of sound and not necessarily for the sound emitted by vehicles and so on. But that is something that we want to explore and we want to see where that will take us, but it's a start. Because it's somewhat difficult.
Have you charged anyone with it yet? Because I haven't heard a reduction in the noise
So
from them.
basically, we're trying to develop our capacity, which is very important. For many years, the department has shied away from that internal development, and so right now, that is one of our main focus. We're always trying to train our officers to try to let them understand the importance of all of these elements, because we can't have them being out there on the road not knowing certain information, and so we have to ensure their professional development so that they can then relay the information. And this is not only at the national level, we also we're reaching out to the different municipalities as well to train them as well.
All right, so before we wrap, I know we're out of time, but this is such an important conversation. I know our viewers have questions as well. It's a matter of kind of just closing off with some of the things that you see people do that maybe, just like the yellow lines that we talked about, they don't know are either against the law or dangerous. And I want to start off with the first one. The brightness of your lights on the road. Some people don't have on high beams, but their lights are very bright and blinding. What's the regulation there?
So there is an offense for unauthorized lamps. We have a lot of persons who they go and affix their own lights onto the vehicle, and that is an offense, and we have issued several violation tickets for that. Fortunately for them, they always pay the ticket, and so we haven't
But do you take it off?
Yes,
do they
have to remove it. Yeah, that is mandatory.
So question, why do we sell it if cars aren't allowed to use it?
Again, so that is something that we're in discussion with Customs Department because it's an importation issue. And so all of these things we're having the discussion about it, but we have to be diligent, we have to be prudent in our approach to it. We don't, because then that is going to have an effect on the market, right? And so we just need to be diligent about it.
There's also a misconception. Oftentimes, drivers would believe that the Department of Transport provides a permit to have these lamps installed, whereby there's no provision in the regulations that provide for us to provide any permit. So just to provide clarity on that to the different operators, you know.
So you should not put in these bright lights on your car.
The LED lights.
The LED lights.
Correct.
You see but some of them sometimes just don't have it on the side of on their car, but they have it on top, underneath, on the front. Do they get charged for these things?
Yes. Like I said, we issue several traffic violation tickets to these persons. Unfortunately for them, they pay.
Can I ask what the charge is? Because it's obviously not enough.
It's $100 for the unauthorized
Yes, that's not enough. Yeah, pay that blue note and then they're going.
So,
is there a just asking, I know we're out of time. Is there a increase based on the number of infractions you have? So if I get caught with the lights today, I pay. And then you catch me again. Is there a database that says, Marlene has been stopped for this before, there's an increase in the fine, or are we looking at?
So we're just implementing that database. Just yesterday, myself and Mr. Casio and our IT technician, we were looking at the first draft of that database, where all of this information is going to be compiled so that we can better track it and monitor it. But currently, no, there's nothing in law that says if you commit this offense constantly, you're going to be held, or be penalized in whatever way. But if the matter goes before the court, then it's different, right? If we arrest and charge, or if we summons the individual and we take them to court, and we do that constantly, then the magistrate has that discretion. But if not, if they're only given a ticket, then no.
Any final tips for our viewers about safety driving before we head out?
Yes, most certainly. I'm going back to the data. In 2018, we had 67 fatalities. In 2019, 96. In 2020, 49. And in 2021, 58. Now, basically, we can do all the enforcement. And that alone will not stop the fatalities, the RTAs. It also, the drivers need to be educated. They need to educate themselves. So it's a shared responsibility. So I want to leave off by telling our operators, our drivers, our users to further educate themselves when it comes to being on the road.
Okay. All right. Gentlemen, just a brief conversation on all the issues we can talk about, but I think it's an important reminder and lets us know about some of the plans that are to come. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having us.
All right, we're going to go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we'll be catching up with teacher Tina Johnson, who started a tutoring program
in Dangriga.
So we're going to find out from her what the latest is after the break. Please stay tuned.
Working off-site doesn't mean you have to be off your game. Studies have shown that simply adding a keyboard and mouse to your laptop increases productivity by 26%. Add a monitor and you'll be 35% more productive. At Fulltech Systems, we have what you need to enhance your remote work or e-learning experience. With devices such as headsets, video conferencing monitors, webcams, keyboards, mice, docking stations, all with the brands you trust. Keep connected with collaboration tools like Microsoft 365 Suite and Kaspersky and perform efficiently no matter where you are. Fulltech Systems, your technology center, where you'll come for the price, but stay for the service.
When something is good and you can save, that makes it even better. Like this guy, he buys Flex bundles using his promo credit. No worries when his primary credit is finished. He gets talk, text, and data for free. Or her, she calls her family internationally with her promo credit. And with data packages so affordable, she even does video calls. Smart continues to offer great deals and affordable promotions. As a small business owner, she saves when she uses her promo credit to call the other guys. All Smart customers enjoy more triple days and knowing they can use their promo credit, which just lasts longer. Smart, bringing people together.
Child Development Foundation, or CDF as we are popularly known, has been partnering with Social Security Board since 2015. Social Security Board supports our child protection initiatives. They support us to build capacity for teachers and parents to identify the indicators of abuse. In particular, they support our counseling center so that we can provide trauma-focused counseling therapy to children who have been abused. Social Security has also supported our prevention program, the Rise Girls program, to help us to equip young women who are in primary and secondary school to understand more about adolescent development and also to build good self-esteem and to build safe social networks.
Over the past 6 years, we have established a partnership with the Social Security Board. It has assisted us in addressing some of their social welfare needs and health care needs of our older persons, specifically in Belize City, San Ignacio, and Belmopan. We have had the opportunity to do home visits with our geriatrician and physiotherapists. We distribute meals to them. We also have that opportunity to interact with them, to observe them. There are needs that may be identified. If we can address those, we do so.
Social Security has been one of our biggest donors throughout the years, and the services that they provide to us is basically financial, and it helps with a lot of things here at the center like bills and groceries. The center is a drop-in center for the mentally ill, elderly, homeless, deportees. They come here, they take a shower, They get their breakfast, they get their lunch, and they also do recreational stuff here at the center. They can watch television, they listen to music, they play games, and they just, interact with each other because here it's like a family.
Whether you're at home, on the road, at work, or at school, if you see news happening or suspect that something might be up, call or text the Channel 5 News Belize tipline at 672-5555. You don't have to give us your name, just give us the tip. That's 672-5555. Call or text us so we can check it out.
Back with our second discussion for today. In studio, we have Miss Tina Johnson, who is the founder and owner of her tutoring program in Dangriga. And via Zoom, we have Miss Janice Palmer here, that she's your donor, right? Your first donor. So we want to have this discussion with you ladies. Welcome, Miss Janice. Welcome, Tina, to our studio today. How are you?
Good morning, good morning, Belize,
You were going to say good morning, class. That's what you were going to say.
Yes, well, I'm doing good, I'm okay. It's a pleasure to be here once again, to be on the show for the third time.
Wow.
Right. My second time was when I got the COVID-19 Hero Award from the Prime Minister.
That's right.
So thanks again, and welcome to my donor. That's my donor, Mrs. Janice Jacobs Palmer.
Hi, Miss Janice. How are you?
I'm doing great.
Yeah. Miss Janice is coming to us via Zoom all the way from New York.
Yes.
So, some background for people who may have not seen the story before. Tina started a program, a tutoring program in Dangriga in her backyard. Because she realized that not all children had access to tablets or had help with their packages. We had you on the show. It was a phenomenal story, and since then you've been getting quite a bit of support. So if you don't mind, let me hear from Janice herself with Project Jumpstart. Janice, tell us a bit about what made you connect with the work that Tina is doing.
Well, I live in New York. I have a program that I started in 2015 to solely try to give back to the less fortunate children, especially in the villages of Belize. And from time to time, I would watch the shows, different media outlets, to see what's really happening and to see what I am doing and how my program can benefit any other program. It doesn't matter what you are doing as long as it has to do with children. And one morning I tuned in to you guys show Open Your Eyes, and she was coming on, and I was like, oh, let me listen to this. And after I listened to what she was saying and her passion that stood with me, and before she left your show, I had already put in the chat for her to connect with me. So before she got back to Dangriga, I had already connected with Tina to find out what her needs are, how my program can be of benefit to her and her vision of what she's doing. And hence the reason we're here today.
Yeah. Project Jumpstart. How long have you had it running?
6 years. We on our 7th year now, since June of 2015.
Yeah. Wow. Is it you along with other Belizeans in the diaspora?
No, this is all me. This is my program. I spearhead this.
Nice.
Actually, when I started this program in 2015, I started this program in honor of my late grandmother, Miss Elfrida Miguel, who is from Corozal, who gave so much to her community, all free of cost. She was the president of the Red Cross. She was in charge of the eye clinic. She did so much for her community, and I wanted to continue to honor her legacy. So hence the reason Project Jump started, had started. But I started this program from my pocket.
Yeah.
So if I see an initiative that vibes with what I'm doing, then I make the connection and I make it happen. And so fortunately for Tina, she has a donor that doesn't have to wait for anything or anybody to give. I can provide for her necessities as I see fit. And I'm so happy and grateful for you guys to have shared stories like hers, because if you didn't, I wouldn't even know that she existed and was doing, in such a critical time during COVID when our kids is out of school, to provide the resources and to help these children, to do their work and their packages. Because as we know, a lot of the work that is being taught within the schools, our parents don't know. The older folks, they really don't know. And so hence her having this program, I love it. I'm working with her to not only to provide, the tutoring, but we are working on bigger things, which is going to be coming right here in probably February. We are launching different things to take Tina program because it's grassroots, and that's something that really, really moved me.
So I want to ask, because I remember this conversation with Tina, and we were just floored. We couldn't stop the conversation. But I want to hear from you. Just what were the things that you heard that really made you say, this is someone I want to work with? I mean, the program itself, it was needed, it was thoughtful, but tell me what connected with you.
It's everything about her. It's how she presented herself. She was so motivated. It's when she talked about my babies, that moved me. And most of all, this is something that she started on her own. She took the initiative upon herself to start a program in her backyard during COVID. Think about that. So that in itself told me where her passion is, where her heart is. And those things connected me because that's where my passion and my heart is, to get into communities such as theirs, to give them the resource to thrive for our children. Because I come to the US, but I never forget. You can take me out of Belize, but you can't take Belize out of me. Okay. And so this is where I am going with my program, to find, people, that is doing well within the community, and to give them the resources. And when she said she won't be able to continue this program because she didn't have the resource, I was like, this is not going to happen. I will. She moved me enough to say, I am going to help you. And a month later, when she said she needed a tablet, laptop, when she said she needed printer because she was paying, for those, I went right to work. And a month later, all those were in her hands. And continuously, I am providing all the resources, and not only for the program, but whatever I send, Tina uses to give back to kids in the community who might need to do a project. They might need a Bristol board, they might need crayons. Those stuff is there readily available to them, free of cost. And that's one of the commitments I have made and pledged to Tina, that I will make sure that whatever she needs for this program to succeed, it will happen as long as I am her donor.
Aww. I know, Tina. I know it's not comfortable to hear, and it gets you emotional. But it's okay to have people say good things about you, and that they recognize your passion. Tell us about how it's been going so far.
So far, good. I don't have a complaint. I don't have complaint. I don't want to complain. It doesn't make any sense to complain, and there's nothing to complain about. Yeah. So far, so good. I mean, like what Miss Janice said, our babies have somewhere that they could go to in Dangriga. And not only in Dangriga, maybe, if the kids from maybe Hopkins or Hope Creek come to town, to do something with mommy for the day, they could stop by. Because, when I started this program, I had a student all the way from Hope Creek.
Wow.
Right? And her mommy ensure that she gets to town every time it's her day to do session. I mean, if they need typing sheet, like Bristol board, poster board, we have glue, we have crayons. We do printing, you know, because during this time, I mean, economic crisis, not everybody has that finance, you know, for our needy babies, they could go to us, you know, we print for them. I mean, it's there, you know, our program is there to stay. I mean, it's for the kids, it's for the children. I mean, parents lately don't have that extra finance to do this tutoring, and when they go, before school closes for Christmas break, because we're scheduled to go back in the classroom January, so schedule and time may change of how, you know, I'll run the program. But before that, you know, we are scheduled to go in school for Monday to distribute package and to collect packages back. And choose, you know, during the remaining days of the week, you know, I'm there assisting because parents don't have time to complete packages with babies. You know, some of them work out of town, go from 6 in the morning, come home 7 in the night time, and that's where I come in. You know, when these babies come to me during the week, they come with their packages that are distributed from school. So I'm there to ensure that they grasp the concept that are on the package and for it to be completed. So when they get home in the evening time, mommy can actually relax. And then it's not frustrating for mommy, it's not frustrating for the baby, because, you know, like when mommy is trying to teach, you know, a little hand, or you know, get it then, right? So it's not frustrating.
That's as real as it gets in terms of the frustration that happens when parents come home and they don't know how to teach. You're a teacher, you learn how to teach.
Yes, right.
You are patient and understanding, and not everyone has that.
Yes.
But you know, you started the program, you were helping the children in the neighborhood, and then the support started pouring in. I mean, what's it like?
Yeah, okay, when I start, before, like what Miss Janice mentioned, you know, because my husband was the one that, he commented, and, you know, while I was here, you know, congratulations, and you're making us proud, you know, and so Mrs. Palmer, she responded to my husband comment and let him know, tell Tina to get in contact with me. And before I got home, you know, me and Mrs. Palmer were in communication, and then that was it from there, you know. But I still want to give thanks to Mr. Derek Velasquez and Senator Erica Jang from Dangriga Town. They donated my first set of armchairs, because the armchairs and the blackboard that I was using wasn't mine. I only borrowed it.
Borrowing it,
right? So it's not mine. I know that school is opening, you know, those things needs to go back. So he donated my first set of chairs along with Senator Erica Jang. The last time, a couple months back, I got a box. You know, Miss Lynn in America, she just packed a box and just said, I wasn't even expecting this box. And it came with 2 video cameras, it came with typing sheet, crayon, flashcard, everything for the program that the kids need, you know. So all donations that we get, I mean, from because sometimes, you know, somebody would send something, you know, we're just grateful. I mean, grateful for all the support, because at the end of the day, it's not for me, it's for the needy children in our community. And then as time goes by, like how we're planning to return back to school, you know, I mean, they will need more of that support. Right? More of that support to complete assignment. And you know, the babies, they don't want to go back to school to say, I don't get my homework done because mommy never had the finance to get it for me. No, that's not a problem. Just find Mrs. Johnson, find me in the Penco area in Dangriga, I mean, and we'll get that done for you. Our babies don't need to go back in the classroom January with an assignment missing or incomplete. Send them to me. Sacrifices will be made. I'll definitely get that done. And that's all because of all the donors, and especially to my donor, Mrs. Janice Jacob Palmer.
How many students do you have now that with your growth? Do you see more students coming and
more?
Yes.
A parent I could remember I did a post, and a parent commented and she said, long time I try get to you if you met me babies, but if you met me babies, they come, it's not my fault. I mean, the amount of parents that are messaging me, at the end of the day, we need to understand that only certain amount. And then, like, I don't I did not respond because I want to do it intentionally. So many people are trying to get in contact with me. I will tell so many people to message me if I don't get in contact with you at a certain time. I try to accommodate each child. This year, you know, it will be different, but trust me, everybody will get that opportunity. Even if we do it on a rotational basis, you come for 6 weeks, okay, and next set, you know, so I want
you already planned it out, because that was going to be my next question. Two things. School go back to session, so you're going to have to go back to the classroom. But you told us from you walked in, it is going to continue. It is not going to stop. So what's the plan? Will it be after school homework? And you already answered how you plan to address the numbers. You'll do groups, right?
Yes, well, that will be, because at the end of the day, I mean, it will need to be after school homework. We need to keep in mind and be realistic. When our babies go back in the classroom, a lot of them will be frustrated. It will, us as teachers will need to ensure that we have all this patience for babies. Frustrated because yes, we're getting packages back 100, 90, 98, but we're not sure if they're actually grasping the concepts that are on these packages. So we'll need to ensure that we have all the patience for them to ensure that they don't get frustrated, because by them getting frustrated, they will not want to go back to school. So we need to make it lively for them, right? Bring across.
You make me want to clap mid-sentence, girl.
Right, so bring across activities the best way we know how to. If we need to dress the part, sing, dance, you know, so it will. I need to ensure that my babies for my classroom, where I teach grasp the concept when I get home in the evening time. When babies come with assignment, I need to ensure that it is done and done properly with them understanding it, to take back something in the classroom so they don't feel left out when teacher is checking something. And you know, sacrifice is all, right? We'll see what our Fridays and Saturdays will look like to ensure that our babies get all they need to get.
Are you thinking of expanding and maybe bringing somebody else along to help you? I mean, it's great what you're doing. It just seems like a lot of work for one very tiny person.
I thought about it already, but then you say, what I'm doing is from my heart. It's free. And we need to, like I said, be realistic. People will need, someone will come and ask for a little stipend, because we all have families to go home to at the end of the day. And then it's for free. I'm not collecting anything to give you. So hopefully it's in the pipeline. You know, my donor is here, so she's
a volunteer would be very nice to help you.
Or like a teacher who's training with you, maybe could do community hours. Those are things.
That's what I had, you know, for a couple months back, and then I felt so good. A couple students from Stan Creek Ecumenical Junior College, they gave me a call. They said, Miss, we're supposed to do a community service. It's for a subject, I believe, one of their course. And they said, and we choose your program to come to do it. And that made me felt so good. So they came over and they did some, they assisted me with my babies that I had. And just before, I had already called off sessions for Christmas break. But I forgot that one of my parents called me, because I have a past student at SJC, and then he's supposed to do community service, and he's up here in Belize City. He don't want to do his community service anyway, but he wants to go with his teacher.
So a past student of yours is at SJC.
SJC.
How long have you been teaching?
12 going to 13 years.
Wow. Okay.
Yes, and you know, and he came and he assisted me for the entire week. Yes, and just so we closed off, and I had another student. She went to study in New York, but I believe she's back, Kaylin Sandoval. And when she went to school, she said, Miss, I'm here because I want to go and assist you. I said, oh, Kaylin, girl, you know, teacher don't close off session. And she was all upset because she really wanted to go and help her teacher. But, you know, I had closed off session because I needed some time.
Well, let's hope you get volunteers before you close off the session. And volunteers, you know, somebody that you don't have to pay.
Yes. No, I want the session
Right.
Because you
tutoring
don't
won't
charge
close
the
up.
Right, you don't charge the kids.
Yes,
This is
yes.
all free of charge. Everything that you are doing
Do
is
you
by
get them to
donations.
dance like you do?
Yes, yes. Some of them will dance, you know, some will be shy. And you know, you'll have some that will actually dance and do what they need to do, you know. I try to make it fun, you know. You can't be shy around the babies because if you are shy, then they will be shy too. But if you just get up and do what you need to do with all that oomph and expression,
it's such a good idea because you have all of that open space. You know, a lot of people don't have that open area where you can separate the kids and make sure that they're seated well and have a block. Because really and truly, one of the things that is scary is that some kids have never been in a classroom setting. And what you are doing is, yes, they're not in a building per se, but they still have their teacher in front of them and they're able to connect with you, right? They're able to connect with their students beside them. They're able to connect with the work. And that is very, very, very awesome. I commend you so much.
So ladies, this collaboration, what does this mean for 2022?
Yes.
Janice, tell us. You said things
Well,
are coming in
it means that-
February.
It means that, you know, everybody that knows me knows I go big or I go home. I don't think small. I always tell Tina, think like me. We think big because we you know, we're thinking about our children, the future of our country. So coming 2022, which Tina will be the first person to roll out, which is very dear to my heart because during the COVID, I have been distributing tablets, you know, to teachers, basically to help in their classrooms. And I did not realize how very slow our children is with technology. So because of that, I want to make it different. So Tina program will be the first to roll out of its kind because I'm doing this district-wide once I find the liaison. We will be opening our Saturday tutoring program, and it will be a 6 weeks program, and we're going to haven't decided the ages we're going to start, but we're going to be getting laptops. So when these children leave that program, they will be able to use a laptop, to get on it, to find what they want. And those are the kind of stuff that I am trying to do to make a difference in our community. So it's going to be countrywide. So for Tina program, because she's ready and because I'm working with her, so she will be the first one to roll out her Saturday tutoring program in technology. And that's coming at least in February. And I'm trying to say, it's not just going to be any old program. Like I said, everybody who knows me, I like to do things a certain way. So these kids that come to the program, I will ensure that they have T-shirts to say that they are coming to the program and try to put a little structure and discipline to them. Now, the other thing is that coming to the program, it's a 6 weeks program. If you learn something this week, next week, we're going to feed off that and likewise the week after. And I'm saying to Tina that the kids will have to now register, and we're going to have some guidance as to you cannot miss a session, or else you will have to wait until the cycle starts again to come back to the program. And these are disciplined because I want these children in Belize to have the same opportunity that my 12-year-old child have in America. Resources endless. And I want to bring that same vision to Belize. And so I'm not going to talk about the bigger vision that is coming. It's definitely coming. I'm working on, but I will start with the technology program for now. And you're going to see those in every district, and especially in the villages, because my program is mostly focused in the villages where most of the time we don't see resources like this. And I am from a village, so I am very passionate about the village. I come from San Antonio, Corazon.
No, you're absolutely right. And it's not even just looking at opportunities, it's access to resources. If you live in the city, you have certain stores you could go to for Bristol board. When you live in a rural area, it's different. And I think that these are some of the things that we don't realize lead to a greater disparity with children when they're growing up. So kudos to you, Janice, because even access to a laptop is one thing. Learning to use it is also something else. And that's kind of like your foundation skills that you now need in this technological world. So this is coming in February. You're going to have people in your inbox right now saying,
how can I get on your program?
Your husband is getting phone calls right now.
Yes, but I like the idea of that discipline of you can't miss a course, because really and truly I appreciate the fact that it's free and so forth. But if there is no discipline, they still lose. If they miss a session, they lose. If they don't come, they lose. If they don't complete their packages, they lose. So I do like that structure there that you have going, Ms. Janice. I think it's a great idea.
All right. Well, ladies, it is so wonderful to hear what you've been cooking up together for the community in Dangriga. Do you want any final words, Janice?
I just want to say to Tina, you know, when you start doing something like this, you know, you're going to have people that want to discourage and talk down, but I want to just say to her, stay focused, because you have me 100% behind you. I am driven. I listen to your concern. I know where you're heading. And as I promised you, I'm on this journey with you to take you exactly where you want to be. And just continue to do for your community. And one thing I just want to say to you is to just stay humble.
Love it. Love it.
All right.
And Tina, do you have any final words?
I'm just grateful for all the support. I'm grateful for Mrs. Palmer and her family. I'm grateful for my family. You know, I have a supportive husband and my children at home. You know, my entire family, I mean, they, you know, the support is there, you know. So my brothers, my sister, you know, everybody. I mean, my father-in-law at home. I mean, you know, whenever he's 72 years old, but whenever I get opportunities like this, you know, I'll go downstairs and say, Grandpa, you know, today I'm going to Belize City because I'll be on the show again tomorrow. You know, that's what I'll say to him. And then, you know, he'd always, you know, like Mrs. Palmer, give me advice. You know, the elderly, they'll talk to you, you know. But you just go and you do what you need to do because you're the first to do it. It comes from the heart. I mean, you're here to stay, and you know, he would be the one every morning. He'll get up to ensure that the yard is clean before my babies come. You know, my father-in-law would pick up anything. It's a family effort, you know. And you know, thanks to before we did our raffle the other day, I called. You know, I would say my mom, the woman that raised me. You know, my mom, because I don't know my mom, so I called her and I said, I need a Christmas, because she owns a store, a family store. We has. Say, Ma, you have Christmas shirt, I need a Christmas shirt for this or for that. You know, so it's a family thing. And she said, send for it, Clem, because she called me Clemmy. Send for it, Clemmy. So it's a family thing. I mean, once you have your family, cherish your family. Yes. I mean, support is
the best way to end that.
Yeah.
Yes. So
we can't say anything else other than that. These two ladies have closed it off. Well, thank you so much for coming in. All the best on your new partnership. Janice, thank you as well for joining us this morning, and keep up the great work. Yes. We wish you the best.
Yes, thank you guys too.
We're
Thanks
gonna
everybody.
We're gonna go ahead and take that break now. When we come back, we'll hear about a cycling team that also wants to help communities. That's coming up in a few, so stay tuned.
With eCash, bill payment is extremely convenient, and all utility companies accept eCash payments. What's even better? You get to split bills with your roommates, siblings, or whoever you desire. Simply open your eCash app, go to Bill Pay, tap the respective utility company, enter the information, and pay the bill. Then tap the transaction made. Tap Split the bill. Select Evenly. Send the request to who you are splitting the bill with, and get notified when they pay. Talk about making life easy and avoiding confusion. You can split the bill for restaurants, grocery stores, and for any eCash payment you make. To find your next yummy meal, hair treatment, or chill spot, simply open the app and utilize the geolocation service to see nearby businesses that accept eCash. Geolocation and bill payment make life a whole lot easier.
The ministry is collaborating with SpeedNet Communications to have a vaccination campaign for children ages 12 to 17 years. Children who get vaccinated will get a chance to win fabulous prizes, including backpacks with supplies, Nintendo Switch, tablets, book tuitions, and MiFi with 3 months data. Only children 12 to 17 years old can participate in this Smart and Ministry of Health and Wellness raffle. At vaccination sites, each vaccinated child, upon being vaccinated, will receive a ticket to place their name, age, date of birth, BHIS number, and contact information on, which will be filled out by a parent or legal guardian. The sooner a person vaccinates, the more chances he or she will have to win. Get vaccinated, please. Vaccination saves lives.
My fellow Belizeans, the passage from one year to another carries symbolism and substance. As individuals, institutions, and nations, we measure time, mark accomplishments, mourn losses, and map out fresh goals at this magical moment when the close of one year ushers in a new one. This past year, the second year of a global pandemic, which upended our sense of normalcy, has been marked with challenges. And for a small and vulnerable country, we have been tested in unthinkable ways. And yet, in 2021, my administration's first full year in office may well be the year we turn things around. In 2021, our people went back to work, evidenced by the dramatic fall in unemployment to 9.2%, with over 25,000 more Belizeans working than the year before. The Belizean economy rebounded, producing goods and services worth an additional $85 million compared to 2020. Even the usually conservative IMF revised Belize's projected growth for 2021 from 2% to a rate of 12.5%, a near miraculous comeback. Our fight against the COVID-19 virus has been relentless. Almost 400,000 tests have been administered, over 30,000 Belizeans have recovered, and the last wave has abated with an average of just 30 cases over the last 10 days. Painfully, 592 Belizeans have succumbed to the virus, and like all Belizeans, I lament every single passing from this disease. In this battle, my administration has spared no measure nor expense. From states of emergencies to rolling curfews to the $15 million in additional spending by the Ministry of Health and Wellness, we believe that every single Belizean life is worth fighting for. Today, the risk of a more contagious variant, Omicron, compels us to take our vaccines and booster shots, to physical distance, wear masks, and to always practice proper hygiene. As we say, watch your distance, wear a mask, and wash your hands regularly. Whatever successes we have achieved against COVID-19 belongs to our nurses, doctors, caregivers, and other frontline workers who have braved sickness and death to save lives and flatten the COVID-19 curve. On behalf of all Belizeans, I say to our nurses, doctors, and those on the front lines of this fight, thank you. We honor your selfless labor. 2021 spectacularly brought the end of super bondage. The retirement of the super bond wiped away $500 million from the public debt while redirecting resources to an internationally celebrated program of eco-marine conservation. And leading the way in grand revolution in productivity and self-sustenance is the Ministry of Agriculture, Food Security, and Enterprise. in just 12 months. Record cattle exports have been achieved and more attention given to small farmers and the agro-productive sector than in 13 years of UDP misgovernance. Our tourism ministry has worked diligently and added new airlines, significantly increased seats, and worked to ensure that tourism workers were among the first to be vaccinated. Our tourism industry is robustly recovering. The BPO sector has experienced exponential growth, and this year alone has created over 5,000 new jobs in a world record in the growth of BPOs. If this spectacular rebound was possible from the rubble left by the last administration, then we should look to 2022 with optimism and confidence. My cabinet and I, supported by the wider public service, resolved to pursue with even more vigor in 2022 the manifesto pledges set out in Plan Belize and endorsed by the Belizean electorate 14 months ago. The work is well underway. For example, the construction and award of low-cost houses has commenced and will intensify in the new year, with units programmed for distribution in all 6 districts among various locations. And the Infrastructure Ministry will escalate its program of road upgrade, bridge building, and rural streets and drains. The Ministry of Natural Resources has handed over 5,338 leases and purchases and 6,943 titles in 2021. And in 2022, anticipates the issuing of 7,500 new lots to first-time landowners. With the reopening of schools, the Ministry of Education will expand the free secondary school initiative, which will start with 4 schools in Southside Belize City as a part of our education upliftment project. The thrust of the ministry's energy will be to recover the classroom time and lessons lost to the pandemic. And starting 2022, we expect that bountiful dividends will flow from the recent investment summit we hosted last November. Forecasted foreign direct investment flows for 2022-2025 is estimated to be about $1 billion, accompanied by an estimated 15,000 new jobs. This will be significantly complemented with the mobilization and injection of local investment incentivized by the interest shown at the investment summit and the acceptance by the private sector of a new enabling environment being created. The safety of our communities and the well-being of the most vulnerable are core national priorities. We expect the recent addition of 220 police officers, the largest ever recruitment intake, will fortify the robust anti-crime crusade of our Home Affairs team. This, of course, will be cushioned by policies that offer a pathway to reform and initiatives that cater to our elderly, youth at risk, and those seeking employment. On the broad canvas, government reaffirms its cherished covenants of cooperation with the social partners, enabling the private sector and empowering our citizenry. My fellow Belizeans, the dreams we share, the values that draw us together have never been more crucial to our national objectives. May this new year bless our land and her remarkable people with peace, prosperity, health, and wholeness. And with the guidance of our Creator, may 2022 be a successful year. From my family to yours, Happy New Year.
We're back and moving into our final conversation for today as we get to find out more about 501 Valvoline Cycling Team. They are a new cycling team, and they have some interesting missions tied to the sport itself. We have with us on set Joshua Fuller, who is one of the cyclists, and we have Zamir Guerra, who is one of the managers. Good morning.
Good morning, good morning.
All right, so we stole away from your riding time, Joshua. We appreciate you being here to tell us a bit about this latest team. So let's start with you, Zamir.
Sure. So yeah, 501 Valvoline is a new team. We started out in April, started off with 7 riders. You know, we've started out after this pandemic, everything was standstill for a while, and when we started back, Oscar, one of our lead riders, the captain actually, he managed to gather all the guys, and we tried to get back everyone into cycling all over again. It was a little bit challenging, but we managed to do it, and thank God and thankfully everything went to plan, and you know, we started to execute it right out the gate actually. We had a couple races, Oscar winning some, Josh winning the last race, which was like last week or 2 weeks ago. And we've also had four of our guys who managed to get on the national team. We had Oscar bringing back 2 bronze medals, one in the road race and one in the individual time trial. And then we had the youngest, the baby of the team, Derek Chavarria, who managed to capture gold out in Dominican Republic.
Caribbean champion.
Yeah, it was for the Caribbean Championship. And then Josh and Jocelyn was also out in Dominica. And Josh was like 2-3 weeks ago that he went to Colombia. And I mean, it was a little challenge for him, as you know, it was pretty much him by himself versus a lot of guys who had teams. So his goal was to finish the race, and he managed to get in the top 20, top 30 out of 60, 70 riders. So I mean, you know, between then to now, it was really a challenge, but we managed to get everyone into the shape that we're looking for cross country, you know.
So clearly you have a very talented team.
Yes.
You know, Joshua, of course. I like that confidence. But why form a brand new team? What is it? Because you wanted to establish your own mission, or have a different vision as to where you want to take it?
How our team came about, like we mentioned, the pandemic came, and you know, some sponsorship went away, and even our sponsor, we were currently, me and Oscar were currently under Smart management, but now we're under 501, and we still have some of the management with us. But like I mentioned, the pandemic came, riders, sponsors backed out, some riders backed out, and we saw it as an opportunity, because not as to maybe say get a powerful team, but because we want to keep people in the sport still, and that is where the Chavarria brothers, we got them on board with us. We have Brandon, who was on Smart as well with us, and he came back with us. So our team is a mixture of more than one team, not just we are together as one now with one goal and one mission.
But that's cool though, because going from being a member of a team to starting your own team means you get to do things that perhaps maybe you knew was necessary.
Yeah.
What were some of the new elements that you added to 501 Valvoline?
With our team, well, Jocelyn always share his experience from Digicel, because he was a former Digicel rider, and our team, right, he would mention that he loved the way we organize, we have structure, like every Sunday we'll meet together and we'll go for a team ride, and after that we'll go and have lunch together. And what we try to do with our team, we try to keep it as a family-based team. Like, we're not just, the race day, we'll talk and we'll communicate how you're feeling. So, like, throughout the week, we check on each other, like, how you're doing with school, how is work going, how is the family going, because majority of us have our family, and we communicate with each other. It's not just about the race alone. Like we mentioned, we have our projects and things that we do, and we continue to carry it out as more than cycling, not just competition alone we're doing.
So also to add to what Joshua is saying, you know, we're not only for cycling, we're trying to change it up a bit. And since we started out our own team, we managed to get a nutritionist. So now we have, you know, we're trying to shape up cycling, and we're hoping that other cycling team can follow us. And, you know, we're getting the nutritionist. We have General Nutrition and Fitness Center out in Spanish Lookout. They managed to get a blood works from our guys. They tell us, all right, well, Joshua, you're going to use this vitamin to, you know, keep you up. Oscar, you're going to be using this one. And, I mean, it's something that we were hoping, we were dreaming about for years before, and now it's actually coming to light. It's just the beginning, and we're hoping we could do more. We also have like electrolyte, the electrolyte drink. You know, they came on board as well, and they were like, all right, we don't mind coming on board. We're giving you a sponsorship, but you got to give us something back. Not only winning races, so we're like, okay, well, maybe we could be like an ambassador. So whenever the guys are drinking the drink or using it, take pictures of it and publicize it, you know. I mean, it's just something that we thought about, but we never expected it would come to light so quick. You know, they've been on Smart, they've been on Western Spirit cycling team, and it was just always riding bike, and Oscar and I was talking, and you know, like, man, we need to change it a little bit. You know, Oscar was he was the mastermind behind it all the while. He was like, you know, we're gonna move up, we're gonna do it something different. And when we managed to do all this, it's coming to light, and it's so great that, you know, you're seeing it coming.
You know what I hear from you? It's interesting because it makes so much sense. It's a team of riders, but typically you just get together and race under a name, under a team name. But you're working on building the team.
It's not just about racing and competition. It's like we want to give back as well to those who are giving to us and those in the community. It's not just
even
competition.
taking proper care of yourself. That,
Yes, Mom.
I mean, when those basketball teams get together, it's all the things you just said. It's work out together, eat properly, take care of yourself.
And that is what Zamir mentioned before, and what Oscar and we wanted that all the while. It was just, you know, we just got on our bikes, we go out and train, and then you go home, you don't know what exactly to do. Maybe you'll just drink some water after that. We weren't getting the proper recovery and the guidance that we needed, and now to have that and to actually know exactly what your body is needing and required to perform well, we're really thankful for that.
You guys said something about giving back to your community, and that goes in line with your new mission for your cycling team.
Yes, ma'am.
What does that entail?
So, well, you know, we want to give back, and like I was telling Joshua and the team, like, we're not doing it for all the likes and for the follow, but we're doing it because we're trying to do it from our heart. One project that we just finished was, you know, we managed to select 7 families, and we got some groceries donated to us, and we managed to give those to 7 families that was in need. And also we've got some school bags and some school supplies. We pack them up, and we also distribute them to kids, that, you know, needed them. And we've, you know, I mean, to see the face when they receive these things was, you know, it kind of broke my heart to see how people stand or live in this in our country. And from there was something, you know, we gotta do more. We gotta do more than just riding bike. We have to help one another. We have to, you know, and it's just something that we're not doing it because we want more sponsorships or so forth. It's just something that we're trying to change the game in cycling. We're trying to have everyone look at cyclists or a cycling team as, you know, hey, I mean, these guys are doing great things. Whenever they see us on the road, they give us a shout or respect us riding and this and that. But it's just for us to give back to the community, help them out when we can and where we can. It's not only just riding bikes. That's our new, like, our goal for 2022. We want to do more. We want to give back to the community. We want to help where we can. I mean, if a park needs help, we want to try to go and help the town council or the city council. And we also want to try to get engaged with a little community bike riding. So, you know, Oscar and I, we like, between him and I, we're the masterminds behind all this community thing. And we want to help, and we want to do a lot more for our Belizeans and also for the youths. You know, we want to try to uplift them. We want to get them to be a part of cycling as well. For not, like Josh can tell you, for the juniors category, it's really, you know, getting smaller and smaller. So the more we try to get youths involved, the more we could get cyclists into the junior category and eventually move to the elite or the females, especially females.
I was going to ask if you have females on your team.
No, we don't, but we're trying to, you know, get females to be involved in cycling.
In cycling, there's hardly females. If you notice, kayakers can tell you there's probably about 4 to 5 females. If riders don't come in, then the field isn't that really big whenever an event is, they host an event.
Yeah, so, I mean, if Miss April and Miss Marlene want to jump on a bike and
Well,
ride without
we just talked to one of our, right? You know, my limited years of experience. But no, it's great exercise.
Yes.
I know
Yes,
that
it is
much.
good for
And it is also low impact on
the
as
knees
for
and the
people as
legs.
they get older with the knees.
Yeah.
So there's great value in taking it up recreationally.
Yeah.
But when it comes to training for the sport, at what age is the best time for children to get involved?
I'll probably say
as you can start, right?
Interesting.
It'll be like probably like between the age of 10 to 13, where you could get them develop into
the earlier you can get them to develop, because it's something you want to target them from earlier. You don't want to target them by probably you're 25, 26, because at that age, you know, you're going into your prime if you're a rider who started before, but you're also starting to fade away, because remember you're abusing your body because you're pushing it to the limit and you're really stretching yourself out there. So if you can start them early, then you know you get them to get adjust to the early morning, waking up, what you should do to your body. It's just a cycle to get them in, to get them disciplined.
What's the difference that riding has made in your life?
In my life, at first, I got to travel a lot. That I can be thankful for.
Just back from Colombia?
And like I said, the discipline. I mean, my parents is watching at the moment, and they can tell you some mornings I'm lazy to wake up, but you gotta wake from 4 o'clock, and by 5 I'm out the door. You got to go train, and you don't want to miss training because it tells in race. And I mean, nothing hurts more than setting yourself up for something, and then you fail because you didn't prep yourself for it. So you got to dedicate to it, and you see the results. Some results don't come right away because I'm going for 6 years, and Samir can tell you I'm just starting to see results. I'm just getting to the exposure to leave the country, and so after all that years. So like I said, it's dedication and the time you need.
What does a training day look like for your team?
For the team, for Sundays we go and we would have, it depends on what the team coach says, but for me, I would go like my days, like I told him yesterday, I had a day of interval, so you just go and max your body out like for a minute, you sprint like 31, 32 miles per hour, and you recover from it and go again. But for our team on Sundays, we go like, let's say it's 90 miles, we'd probably do a rotation for like the first 20 to 30 miles, and then we'd have a tempo where the team just rotate and you go like 27, 28 miles per hour, and we go to get adjust to each other, and then we recover, and then we go again, and maybe we war against each other, you know, to give that race feeling.
And that's the next thing, you know. When we develop this team, we try to not only have a manager, as per to say, but we also have like a management team. So we have the manager, we have our treasurer, our secretary, we have our coach. So this, I believe Josh is the first time he's riding on a team and has a team coach. So our team coach comes and, all right, Josh, you'll do. So each rider has a different training schedule. So Josh, you'll do this on Thursday. Oscar, you'll do this on Wednesday. And on Sunday, we all go out and we execute.
And then coach can see if you do homework.
Yes.
All right, good.
And if coach not happy, I mean,
with all the technology and thing now, they see my ride before I even complete my ride, or sometimes as I finish. So if I miss a 2-3 days, like they'll call me. Because my coach is Warren Corey, so he will call me and he'll be like, I see you didn't went 2 days, what's going on? Are you feeling well? And like you gotta report all these things, like how you're feeling. How your body is reacting to certain training, just so you can really set yourself up.
Having an accountability partner helps, even as a disciplined athlete yourself.
That's good, because I guess with other sports, you do have a coach. And I think with cycling, like Marlene rightfully said, it's not a team, it's a sponsorship. So you go with your sponsor, right? So you don't feel like you are with a body. You are just you riding for yourself.
Yes.
Awesome.
So, you had your first community outreach. You said you have another one planned before Easter. And to show your kind spirit, you have a giveaway for us this morning?
Yes. So, if the viewers on the live stream could give us our 3 biggest sponsors for the team. And,
did you say all of them?
Huh?
Did you say all of them?
No.
Oh.
So if they're following us, if they're following the 501 team, they'll know who is our 3 biggest sponsor.
All right, and you have the giveaway right
there.
So
it's a knapsack and a hat and a water bottle, all courtesy of Caribbean Tires.
Nice. Okay,
well, you guys heard it here. And our Open Your Eyes Facebook page, you can answer the question of what are the 3 sponsors for the 501 Valvoline team.
And you get to take this package away. You got to do it in the comments of our live stream.
Yes.
Guys, I know there's a big race coming up. You guys are ready?
I'm ready.
All right. 501 will come out big. And then the big race is cross country.
Yeah, that's the big one.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
New Year's race is like the second biggest in the country. They also have it's the second biggest, and they also have the most prizes.
Okay.
So whenever the season starts up, everybody wants to go for this $1,000 station prizes, and I believe the first place is $2,500. So everybody's trying to go for it.
And then cross country is the title that you want to earn.
Yeah,
that's the one you always work
That's the one we're hoping that we can get.
Well, I will look out to hear for 501 Valvoline and your team. Thank you so much for coming on and telling us about what you've been doing.
Thank you guys for having us as well.
Before we leave, kid, we big up our
sponsors. They're mixed with you.
So, I want to big up our coach, Aiden Juan, the team coach, our cyclist, Joshua Fuller, Myron Munoz, Oscar Quiros, Brandon Catius, Shaman Burns, the two Chavaria brothers, Jocelyn and Derek Chavaria.
Yeah.
And
that's it,
right? And our sponsors, we have Belize Tourism Board, we have Valvoline, we have Caribbean Tires. Caribbean Tires, if you need new tires, head on over to Caribbean Tires. If you guys not driving a Wingle or Amarok or a Mazda BT50, you guys are not rolling. Your guys are not rolling in Belize.
We're charging for this ad now.
And also General Nutrition Fitness Center out in Spanish Lookout, CK Sports Bar and Restaurant, Electrolyte, but distributed by JDB, and McLean Insurance Risk Solution.
Okay.
So.
All right. And even though you just gave all the answers, there was already a winner anyway. So Dolce Francisco is the winner. She commented in our live stream, and she can win this package. Congratulations to you. We're out of time, though. Thank you for coming in.
Thank you guys so much.
And we're going to go ahead and take a break and be back in a few. Stay tuned.
It's a fact that your credit lasts longer when using Smart. During these times, we're all trying to find ways to cut costs and save the little resources we have. With Smart, it's easy to do that. It's a fact that with Smart, your credit lasts longer. You can call Smart to Smart and Smart to Digi using your promo credit, while with the other guy, you can only call OnNet, Digi, or BTL numbers. What does this mean? You get to call any national number using your promo credit. Your promo credit is free, so that call is also free. Know your facts. Don't be tricked by the other guy. Be smart and save your dollars.
Your life just got a lot less complicated with Belize Bank Contactless MasterCard Debit Card. Introducing our Standard Debit and MasterCard Platinum Debit Cards. Now you can make purchases anywhere MasterCard is accepted with one tap, pay and go. Your contactless card never has to leave your hands, especially in these times. And your card is embedded with multiple layers of security. Platinum card holders get to enjoy extra benefits like price protection, purchase protection, trip inconvenience, and luggage protection, just to name a few. Start enjoying a cashless lifestyle today with the Belize Bank.
2021 was filled with highs and lows, a second year of pandemic life with vaccinations and variants. More tragic deaths due to crime, multiple protests, political drama, environmental milestones, and Belizeans excelling. Before we ring in 2022, we'll take you back to some of the biggest stories of the past 12 months. Join our news team on New Year's Eve for News 5's Year in Review. From headline stories, historical moments, and even the most buzzed about topics on our social media, we'll give you a complete rundown as the year comes to a close. Make News 5's 2021 in Review a part of your New Year's celebration. Tune in on December 31st at 8 p.m. right here on Channel 5 and streaming live on Facebook and YouTube.
Back?
Yes, we are.
Very long show, but some great conversations. I gotta say, the road safety one was so important to me.
I think we need to do an entire segment on just road safety.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
And you know, I also understand now that they say that some of the rules that perhaps we've been exposed to over time, some people have never actually learned. We had someone here who said they did not know about the solid lines until this morning.
Yes.
And that's concerning because it's a big difference. I read the solid lines and the broken lines for whether or not how I'm going to move on the highway.
Yeah, and I think also just for the knowledge that it's not just the monitoring of the department, but it's what you as citizens can do for your part when you're on the road and keeping safe. You don't have to drive at 80 miles per hour to get to your destination. You'll get there when you get there. Better late than never.
Agreed.
Right?
Agreed.
So,
such an important conversation, and especially as we head into the weekend, we didn't touch the very big issue, which is drinking and driving. But of course, it's understood that sometimes even one, depending on your tolerance, can be too much for you to be able to be completely in the right capacity to drive. So please don't take the chance. It's not just your life, it's everybody else that you come in contact with. We want to say thank you to Tina and Janice. Such a great collaboration. Two very passionate people.
It's nice to know that there are good stories out there. And it's just to be good for being good's sake. It's just this one person with a big heart that wanted to do something for her community and for the children of her community. It was a very touching conversation.
I was telling you, I feel like I want to bottle Tina's passion and share it with other people. Yeah.
She has this big passion for such a tiny person.
Yeah.
And it seems that she wants to continue doing more for her community. She needs volunteers, everybody. She needs somebody with the same heart as her to help her.
All right, and a big thank you to Joshua and Zamir for coming in to tell us about 501 Valvoline, a new cycling team, and of course they're coming with a brand new approach to how they want to manage their team. It's great to hear.
It also goes in line with this community outreach, right? This wanting to be a part of like this family experience and so forth. And I think it's exactly what Tina had mentioned, right? It's all about family and cherishing of that and appreciating the people that are around you, because without the support that they have for each other, they're not going to be able to do those big races and win these big competitions. So that was nice to see for the first time.
All right, but that's all the time we have for today. If you would like to contact us, send us an email at oye@channel5belize.com. You can also find us on Facebook at Open Your Eyes BZ.
Yes, and you can also find us on Instagram at OYEBelize. And of course, we're always here every morning at 6:30 to make sure that you start your morning right.
All right, almost there. But of course, I will be seeing you in 2022. I want to take a moment to say Happy New Year to everyone. Please enjoy the time, but stay safe, and do remember that there is a curfew in place, so you're probably going to bring it in with loved ones, and wishing you the best. April, you get to enjoy all the champagne tomorrow on my behalf.
I will.
And whatever else fun. Of course, we're having a New Year's Eve party tomorrow, and you are invited to tune in. So please don't miss it. Until then, have a great day, everybody. We'll see you soon.
Open Your Eyes was brought to you by the Belize Bank, our country, your bank.